Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. This is your latest Manchester United news. My name is Jack. You're more than welcome. Thanks for joining as usual. And plenty to talk about tonight. As always, it is Manchester United. But we're going to start obviously with Jadon Sancho. Reports, well, not reports, he has removed the post from his Twitter feed. Does it mean he's backing down? What does it mean for his future at Manchester United? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some potential transfers for next year. I mean, we could barely get deals done and over the line for good value a week ago, and now we're already talking about signing potentially 4 players next year. So we'll talk about that. Evan Ferguson is the main one. I've done a short video on it today, so we'll talk about him as well. We're being linked with a winger as well from Bayern Munich. We're also being, I suppose, linked with a young Norwegian striker, 18 years of age. We'll talk about that also. And of course, then we're going to be talking about current players within Manchester United, and particularly Anthony Martial, with reports suggesting that Manchester United have a decision to make on whether they should trigger his 1-year extension or let him go on a free next summer. Get your thoughts into the comment section below. As usual, guys, please smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. And hit subscribe as well. England are beating Scotland 2-0 for anybody who's not watching it. About an hour gone. Oh, Harry Kane is in again. But anyway, look, to hell with England. That international, I never rated anyway from being Ireland. You know what I mean? We don't do international football pretty much here in Ireland. But anyway, let's talk about Jadon Sancho and Manchester United. So anyway, look, Sancho removes his scapegoat post after United talks. So look, you need to be hiding under a rock if you haven't heard what's been going on at Manchester United in the past week to 10 days or so. Obviously, Erik came out and was critical of Jadon Sancho after the Arsenal game. Sancho subsequently put out a Twitter post saying he was a scapegoat, so on and so forth. Go check it out if you haven't already done so. A day or two later, he then appeared to have pinned the post to the top of his chat or the top of his page, pretty much doubling down on his statement and the fact that he feels like a scapegoat, the fact that he thinks the world is out to get him, all of this nonsense. Now, we do know that there was talks scheduled on Monday, which did take place between Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho. All of the non-international players who were not on international duty were due back in training on Monday. So them talks seem to have taken place, and subsequently Jadon Sancho has removed his Twitter post. Now, look, let's go down through the article here and see what it says. Manchester United winger Jadon Sancho has removed the social media post in which he claimed to be made a scapegoat after being dropped by manager Erik ten Hag. Let's go down here. Sancho had pinned the message to the top of his Twitter account, but now he has made the decision to take it down, adhering to United's wishes. Now, that's very important. United did want him to remove it because of the backlash and the media circus that was going on around it, and the distraction pretty much in relation to what it was causing within Manchester United and, you know, within the squad in general. 90 Minutes understands that United management, coaching staff and teammates had advised Sancho to remove the post. Sancho met with Erik ten Hag for the first time since his post on Monday. During the last week, the winger was also the subject of interest from the Saudi Pro League as Al Ettifaq made contact, but a deal could not be finalized. Now, look, we do know that Manchester United were open to, I suppose, hearing offers for Jadon Sancho in the summer. Now, it would have taken a hefty, I suppose, figure for United to part ways with him. I think we were talking about 50 million plus for him. So United were open to selling him, and it's kind of similar to there's so much similarities between the Cristiano Ronaldo saga and now the Jadon Sancho saga. Manchester United were open to offers for Cristiano Ronaldo last summer when Erik ten Hag first arrived. Them offers didn't really come to the fore, I suppose, because of, you would have to say, Cristiano Ronaldo's wage demands. Now, I think something similar may have occurred throughout the summer where Manchester United were open to offers for Jadon Sancho. He is on huge wages at Manchester United as well, which is a big stumbling block when you're trying to get a player like him off your books. And we've seen it with, you know, Harry Maguire, who's probably, I think he's on nearly half of what Jadon Sancho is on, and we couldn't move him. again, you're seeing players leave Manchester United. They're never going to get the same type of money unless you're potentially going to Saudi Arabia. Now, again, I think the Manchester United negotiating team needs to be brought into account here as well, because if Jadon Sancho is available for transfer, Saudi Arabia are offering crazy money for, I won't say average players, but, you know, if you look, for example, of, you know, the guy from Wolves, Nunez, sorry, not Nunez, Neves, you know, he went for massive money. And the majority of players that are going to Saudi Arabia are going for higher amounts than, I suppose, the market is valuing them at. Whereas when Saudi Arabia came calling looking for Jadon Sancho, they were offering to loan him. You know, we'll take him off your hands on loan. So, you know, whatever that, you know, read into it as you will. But a lot of the issues that we're seeing with Jadon Sancho, we've already seen with Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, what does the future hold for Jadon Sancho because of this post now being removed? Does that mean now that Erik ten Hag has, you know, forgiven him? Does it mean he's now welcome back? Is he available for selection? Does Erik ten Hag trust him again? I don't think so. And the reason being is that, and I think we will probably see Erik ten Hag come out and, I won't say sweep it under the rug, but just say, look, everything is grand. We had a talk. Jadon, you know, has apologized to me. He remains available for selection, so on and so forth. That doesn't mean Erik ten Hag is going to pick him. And we've seen that with Cristiano Ronaldo last year. Cristiano Ronaldo, on a number of occasions, he refused to come on. He left the stadium, so on and so forth. Erik ten Hag disciplined him, removed him from the squad for a couple of weeks, and he came back and subsequently apologized. Erik ten Hag still didn't pick him, and rightly so. And I think we're probably going to see something similar with Jadon Sancho. I think he's going to go in January, whether that be on loan, you know, with an obligation to buy, with an option to buy, I don't know. But I think his time at Manchester United is very limited. And I think Erik ten Hag will only use him if he really, really needs to. Now, does he really need to? Antony is gone for the foreseeable. You know, while I would love to see Pellistri make that position his own, I don't want to be putting that kind of pressure on a young kid either. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But I think Jadon Sancho's time is limited at Manchester United. Now, other reports have come out and said, Jamie Jackson from The Guardian here is saying, while talks are ongoing regarding Jadon Sancho's future, his decision to remove his Twitter post is a sign that he wants a positive outcome and is also being viewed as a positive move by Manchester United. So, look, again, this is positive news in a shitty situation because it should have never got to this stage, really shouldn't have. We've spoken about this before. Anybody who watches my stuff is quite clear on whose side I'm on. I'm going to be on Erik ten Hag's side for as long as he's the manager, regardless of whether, and I've got a lot of flack. I made a TikTok today about it, and you know, a lot of comments in the chat are saying that, you know, are going up against what I was saying, and there's a lot of Sancho supporters there, and a lot of critics of Erik ten Hag and how he's handled this whole situation. I'm not one of them. I think the manager is doing what he needs to do to try and get an improvement out of Jadon Sancho. He's tried everything with him. He's tried, you know, offering to play him on the left where Ten Hag wants to play him on the right. He's, you know, given him time off, 3 months, supported him when he came back, didn't rush him back, was very positive about him in press conferences. There's probably things behind the scenes that we don't see on a day-to-day basis. Timekeeping supposedly is a really poor trait of Jadon Sancho. Lack of professionalism, lack of effort within training. And I think Erik ten Hag in his interview was using the comments he made as a kind of a last-ditch tactic to try and get a spin out of Jadon Sancho and to try and improve him and try and maybe get his back up a little bit and say, do you know what? I'll fucking show you. But he got the opposite. He got a whinge. He got a moan. He got a, you know, a shrinking violet of a player that just thinks it's everybody else's fault Oh, it's 2-1. Scotland are back in the game. Harry Maguire with an own goal. Oh, we're watching it live here as we're talking Manchester United news. Oh, Harry. Ooh, Scotland are back in the game. 25 or so minutes to go. Oh, an absolute pudding of a goal. Let's have a look here. Ball comes down the right-hand side. Oh, the cross is in. Oh, Harry is stretching for it like he always is. Poor position and poor body shape. And he puts it into his own net. Anyway, yeah, look, I mean, Jadon Sancho has literally proved to Erik ten Hag that he's not up for a fight. You know, he's not really wanting to dig his claws in and really fight for his place within this Manchester United team. And Erik ten Hag is enough of that. He's going to say, all right, okay, well, I'm going to move you on. So let's go through some of the comments here and see what people have to say. Took him long enough, but relationship between him and Erik ten Hag is tarnished, says Niall. Stumpy says, watching England and listening to you. Appreciate it, pal. Cottle says, I'm fed up of Sancho. Pellistri should be starting ahead of him. I agree. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Aaron says, I don't think Erik ten Hag will forgive and forget, but he may have said you can try and earn my respect and even more importantly, earn your place back in the side. We may need him if Anthony isn't back soon. Yes, and the one thing I would say about that, Aaron, is that Erik ten Hag is not a stupid man. He is going to understand that that right side is very limited at the moment in relation to personnel. Obviously, the issues going on with Anthony, now Sancho. He's not going to be a fool either. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Jadon Sancho between now and January, if that is when he's going to leave. But I think it will be quite sparing, in my opinion. Your Invalid says, Erik ten Hag has made it clear since he arrived that trust is very important to him and that trust is damaged. Now, whether they brush it off or not, I agree that his time is limited. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Oshin says, Sancho should have gone in the summer. Wonder will he blame his team for the post? Yeah, we all know. Let's see. January is months away and better to have a player working his arse off for his place rather than paying him to do nothing. Then when January comes, let him go and use the money that we need. Aaron says, are you doing a watch along for the Bayern game? If you are, unfortunately, I'll miss it. I'll be in Spain with the IWA. I will be doing a watch along for it. I don't have a watch along for the Brighton game this weekend because I've got a wedding to go to. But of course, we'll be doing the Bayern Munich game next week away in Germany. First Champions League game. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. Niall says, never change Erik ten Hag. Stay rootless and get these slouches in line. I love it, Niall. I love it. And I agree with you. Ben says, good old Harry Maguire with the own goal. Poor old Harry. Can't catch a break. Bye. John says, the difference is Ronaldo had a legacy behind him. Sancho has done very little since joining United. Absolutely. And it's the first thing that I you know, when people were saying, oh, no, Sancho, he'll apologize, he'll be okay, you know, so on and so forth. I mean, Erik ten Hag cut ties with Ronaldo after Ronaldo scored 23 goals the previous season. Jadon Sancho scored 12 goals in 80-something appearances. So, look, I mean, there's not going to be any way back for Jadon Sancho if Erik ten Hag decides that he's not part of his plans anymore. So, look, I think it's a long road back for Jadon Sancho. If he does come back and he does improve his game and he does, you know, turn his career around at Manchester United and turns into the player we all kind of know is there, then we'll all be happy and we'll say, my God, that was a masterclass out of Erik ten Hag. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Oshin says, well played, Aaron. Great way to make us all jealous. Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 sec. The dog is whinging here. I've got to let him out. Now, Chris says Sancho is just a flop. Haaland made Sancho look good. So there we go. Anyway, guys, look, let's move it on from Jadon Sancho and let's talk about some news that's been coming out in the last maybe 24 hours or so. Sorry. So reports have come out today that Manchester United are eyeing up to 4 players for next summer. And with a striker, with a winger, with a centre back and a centre midfielder, and also potentially fullback areas looking to be improved on next summer. And I find it quite ironic, to be quite honest with you, whereas, we were struggling for money to get the Amrabat deal over the line, a loan deal. And all of a sudden now we're talking about, oh, England are in. Oh, good save. And now we're talking about, getting 4 players signed next summer. Now, look, while I do agree that you do have to future plan, and it's good if it is the case, it is good that Manchester United are looking at, potential targets for next summer already. We should be looking at targets for the summer after also, you should have future planning like that. I just don't see where we're going to get these players off of our books again. Like take Harry Maguire, for example. Now Jadon Sancho has fallen into that category where you're on huge money. You're not going to get that money elsewhere. And Manchester United are trying to get you off of the books. It's not that easy. Now, you would hope, Jesus, Mary, and Mother of God, you would hope that the club is going to be sold by next summer's transfer window. And I think you would also hope that the club is sold by the January transfer window. And we've got new owners that are ready to invest in January, not just next summer. So, look, some of the reports that have been coming out, this is the main one. I've done a short video on it today as well. Manchester United targeting 2024 move for Brighton star Evan Ferguson. So, look, United are looking to bolster the attacking areas of Manchester United over the next number of transfer windows, and rightly so. Obviously we've got basically Rasmus Højlund as the only out-and-out striker at the club at the moment. You could obviously put Anthony Martial into that, but he's so injury prone that I suppose his status as a professional footballer is hanging by a thread because of this injury crisis that he's going through, and he can't stay fit. So while Evan Ferguson, I think, would be a brilliant signing for Manchester United, I think it would be a very difficult one to get over the line next year. Reason being, and a number of different reasons. First and foremost, he has just signed a 5-year contract last season, middle of last season, I think, or towards the back end of last season. So he's under contract for minimum another 4 years. And he'll be under contract for 4 more seasons after this season. Secondly, he's only 18 at the moment. I think he'll be 19 by next summer. So if he continues to score goals the way he's doing at the moment in the Premier League, at 19 years of age, with 4 years left on your contract, it's going to take a huge fee to get him out of Brighton. When you've seen the likes of Moises Caicedo going for 100+ million, and he's a central defensive midfielder, Evan Ferguson, who puts the ball in the back of the net, I mean, you could easily get 150 million for him. Now, that's if he continues to score goals, So while I would love to see him, he is a Manchester United fan, and while I would love to see him play for Manchester United, I think next year is probably not going to be the summer that he moves. Now, there has been reports suggesting that United are not going to have their own way. Liverpool are interested in him. Chelsea are interested in him. Arsenal are interested in him. And I think Bayern or Barcelona are even keeping tabs on him as well. It's great from an Irish standpoint. I've done a show on the radio tonight. I do a 6 to 7 o'clock show on the local community radio here. And we were talking about Evan Ferguson and the fact that, it's great to see some young Irish talent coming through again. But even as an Irish fan and looking at the national side, you can have a talent like Evan Ferguson playing up front for you. If you don't have anybody to put the ball in behind for him or set him up, then, I think Ireland are going to continue to struggle. But obviously he doesn't have that option. He doesn't have that, worry at Brighton. He's got an injury at the moment. If he stays injury-free throughout the remainder of this season and continues to score goals, of course there's going to be interest. But Brighton hold all the cards here, and they will demand whatever amount of money they want for Evan Ferguson. Let's see. Oshin says, I also think we will need a keeper too. Heaton will retire or be moved on next season. Niall says, future planning is pointless as long as Glazers are around. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Niall. And the reason why I would say it's not pointless is because Erik ten Hag likes a certain style of footballer. He knows the type of footballer that fits the way he wants to play. And if new owners are coming in and they're happy with Erik ten Hag, it would be good for Erik ten Hag to have a list of players ready to go and say, look, these are the ones I want. You know, you don't have to worry now about, you know, if it's Qatar, for example, that comes in with a lot of money, you won't have to worry about third or fourth choice transfer targets. You can just go, right, we've got money now. Let's go and get our number one target. If it is Evan Ferguson, or if it is, I don't know, next season, if it's going to be a winger, we'll talk about a winger in a minute. United are linked with an ex-Arsenal winger. But yeah, so I think it's not entirely pointless. Colin says, at this rate, the Glazers are never leaving. Oshin says, Maguire will also be 31 with a year left. We'll be lucky to get a 6-pack of potatoes for the lad. Oh, I'd give a 6-pack of potatoes over if it meant getting rid of him. Colin says, I hate to say it, but I can see Ferguson signing for Arsenal. Oh, man, that would break my heart. Ferguson will cost a bomb. If they want 115 million for Caicedo, they'll want 120 plus for Ferguson. Chris says, Guinness always goes down smooth. Enjoy your few pints, Chris. Happy birthday. He says, no way we get Ferguson in the summer. Our team not set up for Ferguson. He's a similar player to the likes of Rasmus Højlund. Would love to see a Paddy at Barca. Farmer's tan. Be all the rage. A lot of freckles. Absolutely. Let's see. Ferguson will cost 140 million then as well, says Chris. Anyway, look, we'll move it on from Ferguson because, you know, it's not the only report coming out that United are going to be targeting certain players next summer as well. There was reports of a more recent, I suppose, link with an Aston Villa winger in... I've got it here. But Manchester United are not interested in him. It was in relation to Anwar El Ghazi. Obviously, he was available, I think, on a free, and obviously, given United's lack of options on the wing at the moment, there were some reports suggesting United could go in for him. But United are not interested in him because they're looking at offering a new deal to this kid. And we've been talking about him the last few minutes there. But Manchester United to open long-term contract talks with 21-year-old winger Pelestri. Now, look, this is great news. It really is great news because I think we all rate Pelestri. I haven't come across a fan yet who hasn't. Now, look, I still think he's got a ways to go in relation to his development. He's nowhere near the finished article at the moment. But look, he's a fully fledged international for his country as well. He's got some good game time last year, albeit it was slightly limited. It was, game time for the first team. He played well in pre-season as well. I think he's got what it takes. Again, I go back to the fact I don't want him to be the only... Jude Bellingham is absolutely world class. My God. England are 3-1 up. Jude Bellingham is unbelievable. He's unbelievable. You heard it here first. He's going to win the Ballon d'Or next year. Harry Kane scored. Jude Bellingham just rounded like 4 people and slotted it into him. Let's see. Turns, swivels. The close control is unbelievable. Switches it. Oh, what a ball. Yeah, Jude Bellingham is class. But anyway, back to the important stuff and back to Pelestri. So look, Manchester United are looking to open contract negotiations with him, and it's good news. And these are the types of players that you do want to be getting tied down to your long-term contracts. And Erik ten Hag did say it. He said early on in his reign at Manchester United about the younger generation within the academy and coming up through, that if you're not good enough for the first team, if you're not as good or better than the players that are in the first team, you will not play. So the fact that the likes of Pelestri is getting some game time, the likes of Kobe Mainoo is getting game time, of course, Garnacho, these types of players, just proves that Erik ten Hag trusts them. He's not going to be putting these players in if he doesn't trust them. We go back to Jadon Sancho, to Cristiano Ronaldo that we've been talking about already. Trust is a huge thing with Erik ten Hag. both on and off the field. And if he trusts you, he will play you. End of story. And by all accounts, it looks like Pellistri is going to be one of them players that is trusted by Erik ten Hag and is going to get game time. Because, you know, obviously Manchester United have this, I suppose, you know, have a history. You know, there's been an academy player in every match day squad since the 1940s. I think it's an unbelievable achievement. It really is. And obviously we want to continue that. Manchester United should be priding themselves on their academy. And in previous years, the quality hasn't really come true. You've had bits and pieces. Obviously, Mason Greenwood was, you know, head and shoulders above the rest. But we had, you know, I don't know, would you put Paul Pogba into that bracket? I think maybe you could put him into a really, really top tier player bracket that never kind of lived up to the expectation. But after that, then you're looking at your Jesse Lingards and, you know, players like this. And so it's good to see now, you know, obviously, look, Pellistri came in. He's not a fully fledged, Harry Maguire is getting the captain's armband. He's not a fully fledged academy player. He was bought under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think, when he was maybe 17, I think. 17, maybe even 18. And Garnacho was something similar. Garnacho was bought by Atletico Madrid. He didn't come all the way up through the ranks at like 8 or 9. And look, I understand that these foreign players are not going to be signed by Manchester United at 7, 8, 9 years of age. So you do count them as, I suppose, academy players. But it's great to see that Erik ten Hag is trusting of them, albeit a small percentage of them. But I think the fact that it is a small percentage probably means that we are going to see good quality players coming through, because he's not just going to throw any player in just for the sake of it, which is good. But anyway, let's see what people are saying here. Cottle says, hopefully Ferguson's luck with injuries will improve. Many youngsters have struggled with injuries over the last few years. Brighton need to be careful with him. Absolutely. Chris says, Pellistri needs to get game time, proper player. Let's see. Lads talking about the England game there. Cottle says, Ten Hag needs to be called out for his treatment of Pellistri. How Anthony consistently drops stinkers and starts over him is crazy to me. Yeah, look, I get your point, Cottle. I really, really do. I get your point. You have to be able to balance out a young player and his game time. You know, I think there's a kind of a balance of, you know, let's put it this way. I think it's been pretty clear for the last couple of months that some stuff is going to be coming out about Anthony. We've seen the initial, I suppose, rumblings of it a couple of months back from his ex-girlfriend. Now, I'm not saying that this is the reason, but if you had accusations that were going to be coming out and you knew they were going to be coming out, we've seen the phone transcripts of a couple of women that, you know, have had allegations against Anthony speaking to each other back in July. So this has been going on for a while, and Anthony knows that this is coming. So I'm not making any excuses for him, because you still have to go out and perform on the pitch. But maybe is that a reason why his performances haven't been up to scratch? Maybe is that a reason why Erik ten Hag is going, I'll keep playing you, you know, I'll give you time, I trust you, I have faith in you. Maybe. I don't know. Again, this is all just speculation. But look, it looks like Pellistri is going to get his game time now, and I'm really happy about that. And I hope he does take his chance, because he looks a good player. He looks a good player. Let's see. Chris says, we don't know what happens in training. What if Pellistri is troublesome on defense? Some of the ladies are looking for a money grab. Well, look, that's not for us to say. But yeah, anyway. Reports of another winger, guys. And I didn't want to just bring this in because look, I don't know what truth is going to be in this. Like, I would be very surprised if something like this happened. But a report today has come out suggesting that Manchester United are potentially looking at eyeing up a move for Serge Gnabry for 60 million from Bayern Munich. Now, again, we know this guy is a right winger. And now, again, you can take it as you will. I always say, take these news reports with a pinch of salt, because, you know, the transfer window has just ended. How valid can these news reports really be? And Serge Gnabry is a right winger, and all of a sudden we're being linked with him because we're stuck for players on the right wing. So look, while Serge Gnabry is a quite a, you know, a good player in my eyes, I think he's one of the last remaining old school wingers where he's a right-footed player playing on the right wing. You don't see that an awful lot. We see inverted wingers now an awful lot in the game. Your Anthony's, you know, left-footed playing on the right. Rashford, right-footed playing on the left. And the list goes on. It's the same with every club. Serge Gnabry is one of a very limited amount of wingers now that actually plays on the same side as his good foot. So he's a right-footed player playing on the right-hand side. Now, do I see this happening for Manchester United? Probably not. I don't look, maybe it may happen, but look, we'll go down through the report here and just see what it says. Manchester United, in a bid to reinforce its attacking prowess, has laid out an ambitious plan for the upcoming summer transfer window. I love the way they say upcoming summer transfer window as if it's next week. You know what I mean? It's fucking 9 months away. But anyway, according to whatever the name of God that outlet is there, the Red Devils are setting their sights on Bayern Munich standout winger Serge Gnabry after facing challenges with Jadon Sancho and Antony. Gnabry, 28, is no stranger to the Premier League, having previously donned the Arsenal jersey. Since his move to Bayern Munich, the German international has evolved into one of Europe's premier wingers, showcasing his versatility, speed, impeccable finishing ability, so on and so forth. So why the fuck would he leave Bayern Munich? I don't know. But anyway, 2 out of 10 at the moment for me on this one, in relation to any, you know, validity with it, because we're just too far away from the summer transfer window. If we don't get top 4 this season, is he going to drop out of the Champions League with Bayern Munich and come and play with United in the Europa League? Look, there's too many ifs and buts between now and next summer. You know, he could do his cruise ship next week. I hope he doesn't, because I don't wish that on any player, but he could. And then he's out for 12 months and then he's not going anywhere. So look, bit of a smoking gun here, but we're talking about the news here, really, aren't we? Let's move it on as well. And obviously, we've been talking about, you know, strikers. We spoke about Evan Ferguson and, you know, the fact that Manchester United probably do want to bring in another striker next summer. And that's down to Anthony Martial, I have to say, because Man United have a decision to make with Anthony Martial, as these reports suggest. So, as it stands, Anthony Martial's contract will expire next summer, and Man United do have the option, as they do with a vast majority of their players, they have the option to trigger a 1-year extension on it. So do Man United do that? I think there is a time limit on it, and the time limit has to be, does it have to be January, I think? Now, someone in the comments can correct me on that one, but Manchester United have the option to trigger Anthony Martial's 1-year extension. I want to put this to ye and let me know what you think in the comment section, because, and I want you to have a second to think about it here, because strikers are hard to get. Strikers are hard to get. We've just finished talking about Evan Ferguson, and 19 years of age, potentially going for 150 million euro, you know, from Brighton. So strikers are hard to get. If Rasmus Højlund hits the ground running and, you know, establishes himself within the Manchester United team, are you happy keeping Martial for an extra year as a backup? I don't know. I think a lot depends on what he does this season. If he can stay relatively injury free, if he can score more goals, because at the end of the day, he's a striker, and if he can convince Erik ten Hag to keep him. You know, I think outside of them 3 things, I think the writing is pretty much on the wall for Anthony Martial. However, as a Manchester United, I suppose, as a manager, as the board, or as, we've seen our limitations in relation to finances around FFP and so on and so forth. Do you trigger the 1-year extension for Anthony Martial in the hope that you get a transfer fee for him this summer? Again, his wages are going to come into major play next summer, and will he be willing to take a pay cut to get a move away from Manchester United? And I think it's a fine line that you do play there, because if you decide to trigger Anthony Martial's 1-year extension and he decides, he just goes, lovely, another year of getting 250 grand a week, I don't have to leave, happy days. That's the worry that you take, and that's the chance that you're taking with him, that if you do trigger the 1-year extension and then you can't sell him next summer, you're going to pay him for another year and he's going to leave for a free the following year anyway. So let me know what you think. Do United trigger the 1-year extension and try get a transfer fee for him next summer, or do we just let his contract run down and let him go for a free? Let me know what you think. Let's see what people in the comments are saying here. Aaron says, Anthony reminds me so much of Nani. Definitely has the ability to be a great player, but needs some work. But it could come. That's if he stays. I may be on my own, but if I think he could be a good player. Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you, Aaron, and I tend not to jump into anything too quickly. I think, if he does, get over this whole investigation that's on against him, and he does get a good solid season under his belt, then, he didn't have a bad season last year. Did not have a bad season last year. I mean, we look at the money that Man United paid for him and the criticisms that he got last year. Jack Grealish got half the amount of goals. Sorry, Anthony got the same amount of goals as Jack Grealish in half the amount of games, and he got twice as many assists as Jack Grealish did in his first season. So I think some of the criticisms of Anthony are a little bit too harsh, because he's coming from massive money. He's coming from the Eredivisie, which is a farmers league, into the toughest league in the world, and he had an okay season. Now, again, he can be very frustrating, and that's where I take your point, Aaron. Nani used to frustrate the life out of me by just not doing the simple things. But let's see how he gets on. Ben says, Martial has this season to stay fit if that's possible. He's not a bad baller, just never fit. Oshin says, only decision for Martial is which door he leaves through. Chris says, send him on, at least get someone that can be on the field. He has shown nothing recently. Fergal says, Ten Hag will show him martial arts. I love it, Feech. I love it, man. Send him away for those wages, says Chris. Jock says, let him be gone. Chris says, wages make it easy for Martial. Let him go. Niall says, let him away for free. Hopefully next summer we'll have enough money not to care if he goes on a free. And Chris also says, Anthony fan, let it play out and let's build something with him. Trust the manager. There we go. Right. Two final things to talk about, guys, before we finish up. First and foremost is a potential outgoing still, and it's good old Donny. Donny van de Beek. Man United search for Donny van de Beek suitors in Turkey and Qatar. So Manchester United are continuing to look at potential landing spots for Dutch midfielder Donny van de Beek after the European transfer window closed. Donny van de Beek has been left out of United's Champions League squad as the Red Devils are keen to move him on, but a proposed loan move to Real Sociedad fell through earlier this summer when United refused to budge from their demands of an obligation to make the move permanent. The 26-year-old, he's only 26, man. The 26-year-old ended up remaining at Old Trafford beyond the deadline day earlier this month, but 90 Minutes understands there is still an active desire to find him a new home for Van de Beek, and United are looking for suitors in countries where the window is still open. The Turkish transfer window remains open until the 15th of September, so we've got 3 days on that one. and clubs in Qatar have until the 18th of September to make signings. So yeah, what have we got there? Little under a week. And these are the two countries in particular interest to United as they seek to trim their squad. Interest from Turkish giants Galatasaray and Fenerbahce have not progressed, but there is understood to be other clubs exploring a potential move for Donny van de Beek. Now, look, I don't think there's many Donny van de Beek haters out there, and I'm certainly not one of them. It just hasn't worked out for Donny at Manchester United. He's been unlucky with an injury. I don't think we should have ever signed him in the first place. He wasn't. I don't think Solskjaer even wanted him, to be quite honest with you. I think it came in that summer off the back of Ajax doing so well, getting to the Champions League semi-final and barely missing out on the final, that United went for Donny van de Beek. If you remember, there was teams from all over Europe going in and picking the bones of that Ajax team. You know, Onana left for Inter Milan. Then you had the centre-back went to Juventus. I can't think of his name. Donny van de Beek, so on and so forth. You had Hakim Ziyech leave, all these types of players. And I think United probably just jumped the gun and signed this guy without any real understanding of the type of player he was and how he was going to fit into Solskjaer's way of playing. He got a new manager then in Rangnick who didn't really play him either. And then you were thinking, right, the manager who made him is coming back. This is the chance now for Donny. And he just never took it. He really didn't. Now, look, he was unlucky with injuries, but I think Erik ten Hag has obviously seen something in him that has said, you're not the same player that you used to be. And again, I go back to what we've said with sentimentality. Sentimentality is something that the fans shouldn't be getting carried away with. And I've seen it an awful lot with Jadon Sancho over the last week or so since all of this stuff happened. The fans are very the fans have got a lot of sentiment towards certain players, especially the younger fans. We see our manager, who has great connections to Donny van de Beek here, who has no sentimentality towards him, because you can't have that if you want to be successful within the game. Sorry, Donny, you're not the player that you used to be. It's time for you to move on. That's what Erik ten Hag is saying to him. And I think as fans, we have to be the same. We have to drop this sentimentality nonsense and say, you know, Jadon Sancho, you don't want to do what the manager wants to tell you to do, then it's time for you to leave. You're no different to anyone else. No one player is bigger in the club. And look, I think Donny van de Beek will subsequently... Look, whether he leaves in this transfer window or not, I mean, he's not included in the Champions League squad. That tells you everything you need to know, you know. And we've seen, you know, the likes of Kobe Mainoo come in and come directly into it. Mason Mount, Scott McTominay is there, Bruno Fernandes, so on and so forth. I think even Hannibal is registered for the Champions League squad, while Donny van de Beek isn't. So if that doesn't really put the writing on the wall for you, then I don't know what will. Donny is still a player that we can get some money in for, that we could potentially reinvest in January. Now, again, if you keep Donny until January and then you look for a suitor for him in January, does that drag on then to the end of the January transfer window for us then to try and reinvest that money again? Again, I would go back to, you would hope that the club is sold by the January transfer window. I mean, if it's not, I think I'll just be pulling my hair out. But yeah, look, I mean, I don't know how keen Donny van de Beek would be to go to the likes of Turkey or Qatar. I mean, like I said, he's 26 years of age. You would think he has still got something to offer within Europe, whether if he went to Portugal or he went to, you know, La Liga, where he could still maybe play in Europa League or try get into the Champions League with, you know, maybe a Portuguese team, or maybe even go back to Ajax or somewhere like that. You know, I don't know if Donny will move to Turkey or Qatar, but it's going to be an interesting one, and let's see what happens. Finally, guys, as always, we try and end on a positive, and where else could we go? How much more of a positive could there be in relation to this man? And what a game he had last night. Now, look, I know it was against a bang average team that they were playing against, but Bruno Fernandes is world class. I don't care what anybody says. For anybody who missed the game last night, go back and watch the highlights of the Portugal game. It was absolute. Bruno Fernandes put on an absolute masterclass last night. And I can't wait for him to come back and start playing again for United, because we need players like him firing on all cylinders. And I'm quietly optimistic. Now, I know that's quite a weird thing to say when I'm doing it on a live where people are watching and I'm saying it to other people, but I am quietly optimistic about Manchester United in the coming weeks. Bruno's flying it. Rasmus Højlund just looks like the man. He just, I'm really excited about him. Amrabat is coming in. You know, that'll take a lot of the pressure off of Casemiro. I'm even looking forward to the likes of Pellistri, you know, trying to nail down that right-hand side. Even Garnacho on one side, Rashford on the other side, Højlund through the middle. You know, at the back then, Martinez, thankfully, is not as his injury is, you know, not as bad as we thought. Lindelof is okay as well. Left back is an issue, but I'm excited. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's the international break and I'm excited for the Premier League to start back this week. I don't know, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Let's go through some of your comments here. Get your last few comments in before we finish up. Chris says, United board thought Donny was cheaper version of De Jong. Maybe so, Chris. Yeah. Luke says, sorry if I missed it, but was El Ghazi discussed? Never heard such BS in all my life. Oshin says, I reckon it'll be more if Mrs. Van de Beek doesn't want to move to Turkey or Qatar. Maybe so. Luke also says, Bruno has been discussed in the best players in the world at the moment. I agree. His stats are just top quality. They really are. Chris says, I think with Amrabat and Casemiro, we'll let Bruno be Bruno. Yeah, I think you could be onto something there as well, Chris. Aaron says, we need Bruno on form in front of Casemiro and Amrabat on Saturday. Brighton are so good going forward with a makeshift centre-back partnership. Makes me nervous. Now, the one thing I would say is that Erik ten Hag has had a lot of time on the training ground, or he will have a lot of time on the training ground this week with the likes of Amrabat. You know what I mean? With the likes of Arnaud Wan-Bissaka. With the likes of, if it's Reguilon, that's going to be there. I think Lindelof didn't go on international. Oh, no, he did. Lindelof did go on international duty. Martinez didn't, but he didn't play. So I'm looking forward to it. Oshin says, Bruno should have more freedom now. If Marcus can get a good start, it'll take even more pressure off him. Absolutely. Rasmus... Sorry, you said Rasmus there. I meant to, rather than Rashford. But I think Rasmus Højlund is going to take a lot of pressure off of a lot of people around him if he can, you know, start scoring goals. Niall says, we're excited now. We'll probably be shouting, sack them all after Saturday. Yeah, I know. But look, it's going to be a long season. Guys, thanks for watching. I am going to have my match preview up. It will be up on Thursday afternoon. What day is today? Today's Tuesday. So that will be up on Thursday afternoon. So keep an eye out for that. We will be live again tomorrow night. I am going to start going from 9 o'clock from next Monday. But obviously I do a radio show on a Tuesday, so it has to be a little bit later. But yeah, so the 9 o'clock shows are going to be starting on Monday. So tomorrow night we will be back to 7:30. So I hope you can all join me for that. If you haven't, please do smash the like button and subscribe button. Please hit share as well, guys. If you know of anybody who might like it, our channel, the goal is to try and get to 5,000 subscribers before Christmas. So if you know any Manchester United fans, anybody that you'd like to get involved in the chat with us, make sure you're sharing the videos as well. Share the channel, share it, you know, to whoever you think might like it. Because look, the channel is growing. I'm really happy. It's slow and steady, but it's something that I am really enjoying doing. So happy days, and I'm going to continue to do it. If nobody else subscribes, we'll still be here doing it because we're talking about Man United at the end of the day, and that's what matters. Oshin says 9 is great. Kids in bed. Yeah, well, look, I hope that suits everybody. Again, it suits me a lot better, obviously, with my missus being less than 5 weeks away from giving birth. You know, it just means I can give her a little bit of a hand in the evening then with getting our little one to bed and so on and so forth. So yeah, we have to balance everything, don't we? But guys, look, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Again, just to remind you, we don't have a watch along for Brighton devastated over that, I have to say, because I'm missing doing the watch-alongs because we didn't get to do one last week either because I was away in France. But look, we will be back with watch-alongs next week for Bayern Munich. What a brilliant one to be back for as well. So make sure you're tuning in for that. If you haven't already done so, please do hit subscribe. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow night. I might actually do tomorrow night at 9 o'clock again, you know, if that suits everybody. But yeah, keep an eye out. Best place to follow me, guys, is either on Twitter or on Instagram. Actually, do you know what? Fuck it. Just follow me on all of them. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And make sure you're getting into the Discord as well, because we post all of our lives up there and when we're going live and so on and so forth. If you also want to become a member of the YouTube channel, an official channel member, the link is in the description. You get to come on to our match reaction videos after every watch along and give your own opinion. You get some extra content. You get some, you know, badge beside your name, emojis, all of that kind of good stuff. So if you do want to become an official member of the channel, the link is in the description of the video. Go check out the options there. Obviously, it helps out the channel an awful lot. And last but not least, I'm getting very close to launching merchandise on Shopify. So it's after taking me a good few weeks to try and figure it out. I've been working on some little designs myself. It's not going to be an awful lot at the start, but yeah, that's on the way as well. So if that's something that any of you are interested in the coming couple of weeks, hopefully I'll have that up and running as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Stay safe. Chat to you tomorrow night. Come on, United.